Hey guys, Bubba here with the BubbaNews, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? Can't believe it's already Friday, May 9th, 2025. Where has this year gone, guys? This year is just flying by. Tonight, I want to talk about nuclear talks with Iran, because this is what's going on with everything going on this weekend with Iran, with Wickoff, and the fourth round of meetings they're going to have there in Oman. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on, but everything is focused right now on Iran because there's some big Bible prophecies that are coming up, especially there with Jeremiah 49, 34 to 37 area, there with Elam and Isfahan and whatnot. So we'll get to that, but you know what? Everything is going on with Iran, with the nuclear commander even yesterday. And we'll start over here yesterday because, you know, the IRGC guard chief yesterday, he said that Iran would seriously retaliate against Israel and the United States if the two countries struck Iran. I'm issuing a serious warning. If you make one wrong move, we will open up the gates of hell on you, he said. Sit down and stay in your place. We have made extensive preparations. These are serious warnings to Zionist officials, to U.S. officials. The criminal prime minister of the Zionist regime talks a lot these days. Threatens Iran, he said. According to Iran International, if you make a mistake, we'll act on you in a way that you forget the true promise 1 and 2, he said in reference to the attacks that Iran launched on Israel last year. The Zionist entity is just wrong, and the true promise 2 operation system proved the failure of Israel's defense systems. The THAAD system will not succeed in protecting it, he said. Don't count on that. Every time you fire a projectile, we will fire more than you, Salami said. But you know what? While Iran is threatening, we've got the United States. There was Saudi Arabia and Mohammed bin Salman. And the U.S. is no longer demanding that Saudi Arabia normalize ties with Israel as a condition for progress on civil nuclear cooperation talks. So, under Trump's leadership, the U.S. has delinked Saudi nuclear talks from the requirement to normalize ties with Israel. And this is a very sharp shift from the Biden administration's approach, because he tied the nuclear cooperation to diplomatic recognition and regional agreements. And Saudi Arabia is still refusing to sign the 123 agreement. And what this does is this restricts uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing, which is a major sticking point, especially with Saudi Arabia. So with everything going on with Gaza, it's like a new regional order maybe forming. And shifting alliances, or they're pulling away from Israeli dependency. So we'll have to see, because Saudi Arabia wants a nuclear program like the Bushehr nuclear power plant that Iran has. And their thinking is they want to enrich as well, because if Iran's going to have a nuke, they want to have a nuke. Excuse me, guys, but we'll have to keep an eye on this. But this is just nutty professor. But, you know, everything was a buzz yesterday with the new pope. So the new global Pope of No Hope. And they elected the 267th pope, the Pope Leo the 14th. So this guy is 69 years old. He's a Chicago native. And he's a compromise between the progressive and traditional factions. So basically they say that he's continuing Pope Francis's inclusive agenda while emphasizing pragmatic governance. So it's really weird that, you know, they appointed an American dude, of all things, because he's going to continue to prioritize social justice, interfaith dialogue, Vatican reform, redefining the church and their global role. I mean, this is a big thing that he's going to be dealing with. And it's almost like this new Pope guy is going to be like the Band-Aid to get the world to the false prophet when he finally arrives on scene. That's my thought process, at least on this one. But let's get to the news of today. You know, I love this verse. Now, to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever endeavor. Amen. Ephesians 3:20. That's such a cool passage right there. I was just checking that out last night with, what was it, Philippians 2:19. That's a good pairing up passage here with the Ephesians 3:20. But, with everything going on with Iran, talking, nuclear, this, that, the other, we're going to start hearing a lot more about peace, because today, in Jerusalem, of all things, French President Emmanuel Macron, he addresses the People's Peace Summit that happened today in Jerusalem. And it was organized by 60 organizations. So you had Macron addressing this audience in Jerusalem, talking about peace. And here's what Macron said via video satellite feed. Your mobilization is a signal of hope in a time marked by pain, fear, and misunderstanding that live in all of us since the terrorist attacks of October 7th, 2023, and the tragedy that struck the Palestinian people in Gaza, says Macron. Macron highlighted that France lost the highest number of civilians after Israel in the Hamas onslaught, and remembers the many peace activists that were killed by the terrorists. He said that France will always stand with builders of peace. Macron said that in this spirit, he will co-chair a conference for the two-state solution with Saudi Arabia in June. Of course, we know that's coming up, June 2nd through the 4th. But Macron says that the release of hostages, disarmament of Hamas, and reform of the Palestinian Authority are the prerequisites to achieve a long-lasting peace. Meanwhile, Palestinian Authority's Mahmoud Abbas, he also did a video into Jerusalem. And he told the Jerusalem Peace Summit that he rejects terror, but he backs the two-state solution for lasting peace. So we're going to start hearing a lot about that with Trump coming up, going to the Middle East here next week, here in a few days. But you know what? Trump's special envoy, Wickoff, he's traveling to Oman on Sunday for the 4th round of nuclear talks with Iran. As in the past, we expect both direct and indirect discussions with Iran, a source familiar with the trip said. I'm not sure what the USA thinks it will get out of these talks, though. Because the red lines for the United States are basically, it's a no-go situation for Iran. And one that Iran will never agree to. Here's what Wickoff on the left says. An enrichment program can never exist in the state of Iran ever again. That's our red line. No enrichment, it means no weaponization. It means that Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan have to be dismantled. Those 3 things right there, and we'll show maps here in a minute, but that is Iran's pride and joy. That they've been enriching the uranium past the 60% mark. Their research, all this stuff. And it has to be dismantled. Iran will never agree to that. But Trump, he's getting ready to go to the Middle East. And some big things could be happening next week. There could even be some false flags happening next week. I'm just going to say that. The way everything's going. But Trump's going to leave on Monday, the 12th. He's going to arrive there, I believe, on the 13th. I believe it is Tuesday. And the 14th, Wednesday, in Saudi Arabia. But, Saudi Arabia is going to host a Gulf in a U.S. summit on May 14th. And it's going to be part of Donald Trump's first visit to Saudi Arabia during his second term. But the summit hosted by Saudi Arabia in its capital of Riyadh was preceded by numerous predictions regarding the announcement that Trump has been referring to, describing it as a very important announcement is coming up. We keep hearing Trump talking about, I have a very important announcement coming up. A very important announcement coming up. He's supposed to release that announcement. He was supposed to release it Thursday, Friday, or Monday. He didn't release it Thursday, didn't release it Friday. So we're looking at Monday now. But all Gulf leaders are expected to participate in this Gulf U.S. summit. However, Egypt is not participating in this summit. Jordan is not participating in this summit. So here's the big talk and the big hubbub today. A Gulf diplomatic source who declined to be named or disclose his position said President Trump will issue a declaration regarding the state of Palestine and American recognition of Palestine, and that there will be the establishment of a Palestinian state without the presence of Hamas. I said, we'll see. I doubt that Trump will announce this without Jordan or Egypt being at this summit. Here, I'll even show you. Here, let's go over there real quick, because I took screenshots here. Yeah, right there, the second line down. President Trump will issue a declaration regarding the state of Palestine and American recognition of it. If an announcement of American recognition of the state of Palestine is made, it will be the most important declaration that will change the balance of power in the Middle East. And more countries will join the Abraham Accords. So this is the article that people were talking about today there at ynetnews.com. I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But like this guy here, second paragraph down, said, I don't expect it to be about Palestine there at this Gulf summit and this big announcement with Trump. Because the Egyptian president and King Abdullah of Jordan have not been invited. They are the two countries closest to Palestine, and it would be important for them to be present at any event like this. So we're going to come back to this in a second to finish up the video, but we've got to keep an eye on that. But check this out. Even Kushner, everyone's favorite son-in-law, continues to work behind the scenes. You know, our buddy Keegan Fernandez over there, he pointed out Jared Kushner and the primary goal of Trump's Middle East trip is to secure investment deals from Gulf states that would support economic initiatives in the U.S. because Trump sees dollar signs. And Jared Kushner has been informally advising Trump and his administration ahead of Trump's upcoming trip to the Middle East, CNN reported today. It said that Kushner served as a senior advisor during President Trump's first term and played a central role in negotiating the Abraham Accords. While Kushner is not expected to join the president on this trip, CNN reported that Kushner has been in regular contact with officials preparing for high-stake meetings with leaders in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. These discussions have included talks about economic cooperation and the potential expansion of normalization agreements with Israel. But the primary goal of this trip is to secure investment deals from Gulf states that would support economic initiatives in the United States. However, Kushner and other officials have also been working toward a broader diplomatic agenda, reviving and expanding the Abraham Accords. Because Kushner's relationships with Arab leaders, especially Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, continue to make him a very influential voice, because Kushner can text MBS directly. They're that kind of friends. I mean, Kushner has advised officials on how to approach the delicate conversations with Saudi leadership, particularly around the issue of normalization with Israel. So, a breakthrough with Saudi Arabia is not expected during this trip, but it still could happen, because the Trump administration views face-to-face meetings as a critical step. And other countries may sign agreements first, but engaging Riyadh remains a long-term objective. So the report notes that Kushner has no formal role in the administration and does not appear to want one. Kushner's involvement seems driven by ongoing relationships and personal interest. Kushner prefers to operate in the background and step forward only when tangible progress is made. That's interesting. Well, CNN also reported that Kushner has maintained close contact with Steve Witkoff, Trump's Middle East envoy, and has been helping him navigate talks with the Arab leaders. And, Wickoff is expected to accompany the president on the trip, of course. So other key figures joining Trump include Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and along with several top White House staff members. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But this weekend's going to be huge, especially going into next week. But we got to keep an eye on Iran because there was a huge explosion in Shiraz, Iran, tonight. And this is close to Iran's Shahab 3 intermediate range ballistic missile storage. So at their Imam Javad base, located approximately 12 miles north or so of Shiraz along the highway to Isfahan. And this fire got close to the base, and that base is known to host some of Iran's missile production operations. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. But something exploded and a huge fire took over on the hill. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it could be domestic defectors or even foreign sabotage efforts. Could be even the Mossad right now. We don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on this. But something interesting. But another thing I found interesting is I still believe the attack on Iran's coming. But I found it interesting, and I had to take 2 pictures of this. But, there were 3 of the B-2 bombers there coming from Hawaii after they had stopped from Diego Garcia. So I found it interesting that 3 of them were heading back to the States. It says stealth bomber returns from Diego Garcia as U.S.-Iran nuclear talks head to the 4th round. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. That doesn't make sense either. Why 3 of them would leave? Unless this is just to show Iran, like, look, we're the United States. Look, we're even taking away 3 of our B-2s. See, let's have these talks. You can agree with us. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what? We're going to wrap it up here pretty soon. But you know what? Sunday's going to be huge. And Sunday's nuclear talks are do or die. Envoy Steve Witkoff here warns that if no progress is made, the talks will end. And the red line is there is no uranium enrichment, Iran. That means no Natanz, no Fordow or Isfahan. But Iran says enrichment is non-negotiable. The stakes couldn't be higher right now. But the U.S. can't afford another failed nuclear charade. Because Iran's regime has spent decades exploiting the diplomatic theater to advance its nuclear program. While basically Iran just laughs off the sanctions. So if Iran refuses to dismantle the enrichment infrastructure like Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan, negotiations are dead on arrival. So you know what that means? The attack on Iran is in the next few weeks? That's very possible. Because no progress will be made and the nuclear talks will just come to an end. I mean, something crazy town could happen. That's what I'm saying. Natanz, Isfahan, Fordow. I'm going to show you how close that is, and that is literally part of Elam. Check this out. Everybody has seen the Elam pictures, but for those who haven't, this is Keegan Fernandez. He had that up. I thought it was a cool picture. I saved it to the phone. But you know what? Elam is up here in Iran that hugs the Persian Gulf, and it actually comes down further towards almost the whole area where it says Gulf there. Oh, and that'll stir up a hornet's nest too this weekend when Trump calls it the Arabian Gulf and not the Persian Gulf. So that'll stir up all kinds of crazy town stuff. But yeah, it extends. Elam actually extends down further. But anyway, my point being is we're going to get up here because here's some of the just, this is a map of showing how Israel could strike. They could take the northern corridor. They could go across Syria into Iraq, the central one, and they could go in the green. But you know what? They're going to be targeting these areas there circled. The Arak, the one we showed the other night, where they have their their reactor, their 40 megawatt. That one. You've got Natanz there circled, key targets, Isfahan. And then down there at the bottom, you've got the Bushehr nuclear power plant. All that is, this is all part of Elam. This is all stuff that's going to be attacked. And just to show you, when I showed you a second ago, Shiraz right there, that's where the fires were. Not where this dot is, but I had this map and I wanted to show you how this is all Elam area. And Shiraz is where they had that explosion tonight. And the fire Again, all these things are going to be under the targets of the United States and Israel. Everything they're highlighted in yellow. Excuse me. Even down to the bottom down there. Bushehr Nuclear Power Plant. It's all come together. But this is Steve Witkoff. He said we must dismantle the 3 nuclear enrichment facilities in Fordow, Natanz, Isfahan. Uranium program in Iran can no longer exist. They can't have centrifuges. That's our red line. No enrichment. We will not accept a bad deal with Iran. We will withdraw if we feel the agreement is not strong. And it's not going to be strong. If we think the talks on Sunday will not be productive, we will choose a different path. You know what? You guys are going to have to choose a different path. Because these talks are going to end. They're not going to be productive. I don't even know how they've gotten this far. But you have everybody on the planet, especially in the administration, that says, oh, they're going great. These talks are going great. Yeah, they're going great. You're having indirect talks. Okay. You guys aren't progressing either way. I mean, they need to be dismantled. Warns that U.S. might take another path. I think the U.S. is going to take another path. That day is coming. You know, this is Jeremiah 49:37 all day long. So I will shatter Elam before their enemies and before those who seek their lives. I will bring calamity upon them. Even my fierce anger, declares the Lord. And I will send out the sword after them until I have consumed them. That's a full-on military terminology. Sending out the sword after them until I have consumed them. This is going to be a big weekend. Yeah, the big red lines. The stakes could not be higher. You know, these the nuclear talks with Iran are going to be something to definitely watch and to keep an eye on Sunday. And then with everything coming up here in a few days, with Trump going to Saudi Arabia, having that big U.S. Arab summit, you know, all kinds of talk about Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords. There could be some big announcements regarding that. Goodness, there's going to be some big announcements regarding Gaza because Israel with their Gideon's chariots, you know, they're getting ready to go in. And Hamas basically has 1 week left to come to an agreement. Or else Israel's going in large and hard. And they're going to, oh man, it's going to be ugly town. And it's going to get the entire world wrapped up into this. And we're going to end up leading into Zechariah 12. Verses 2 and 3. And they're going to end up having some, you know, I don't know. But something's coming up. I still believe. Wow. We've just got to keep an eye on the Lord Jesus Christ, guys, because this is getting crazy town, and it feels like everything just continues to boil up and get stronger and stronger and stronger. And you know, God's fierce anger, it's building up, and it's going to be released not only on Elam, but on Damascus in the future, on Amman, Jordan, you know, in Egypt. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But, guys, thank you so much for your prayers. Thank you so much for watching. Jesus Christ is coming so soon. Dig into this prophecy in Jeremiah 49:34-37 in particulars, you know, because the U.S. Will be taking another pass soon. And, you know, all bets are off especially once Israel leaves the Middle East, or Trump leaves the Middle East, if he leaves the Middle East. You know what? There could be all kinds of craziness. But thank you all for your prayers. Thank you for your donations. Thank you. I ask for your continued prayers, and I won't keep you guys tonight, but there'll be so much more to talk about here in the next few days. But, you know, the stuff with Pakistan and India is kicking off, all kinds of crazy town. But my eyes are on Israel because of these nuclear talks with Iran. So with that, I will bid you adieu. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Maranatha, Jesus Christ is coming so soon. Look up. Your redemption draws nigh.